woman to woman, oftentimes the busier I am, the more my partner needs me or wants my attention. I time block and he's very supportive, but the irony baffles me. And I feel like I'm letting him or others down. And I think others could also include maybe parents, maybe it's those that, your children. Spring, you start. I think you did mention you want to be stay at home. And how do you do that?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. I really stopped thinking about balance and I think about harmony. And I just say that because usually if something is great over here, it's suffering over here a little bit. So I don't believe in having balance all the time, is having the harmony. Now, to your question about maybe your spouse or others, I think it comes down to having real conversations around it. So in my personal life, I'm very highly leveraged. We have people who clean, cook, do all those different things, because at the end of the day, my husband doesn't care who does the laundry or who cooks the meals or who cleans the house. So for me, it was more or less, how can I leverage out the things that don't necessarily need to be me, that I can, when I'm home, spend my time with him or the family or doing the things that I want. So I would just say in this, to this question, is just getting really clear around what is that expectation that make you both fulfilled? And then you don't necessarily have to do it all. So figure out where you could get some leverage if you can. And then I think just being really okay to know that usually sometimes when something's great, the other might be lacking, and that's okay. I've just come to accept that not everything's going to be at 100% all the time. And it's created a lot of more of fulfillment, and also me putting less pressure on myself when I started feeling that way.
Thank you so much, Spring. Elena, over to you.
Yeah, I love what Spring said. I operate the same way. I stopped comparing myself, and the idea of the concept of the work-life balance to me always put me at this disadvantage of where I thought everything had to be perfect and I had to feel happy about everything, and I don't have a lot of motion and random stuff coming at me. And one day I said, you know what? If you want that, I'm not your gal. I don't know how to do humana, life is perfect. I just know how to do my life. And and I like a lot of motion. I'm up to big things on this planet, So part of what I've done is also delegating the role so that I do have time for the family and the work partners. And I put my family as my family and then my global family, right? And so what I've done is I've really had a time to indoctrinate sort of the kids and the husband as who are we as Team Cardone? We want to help people. We want to make a difference. So from the time the kids were really young, I said, hey, you want to be superheroes? Your parents are superheroes. This is how we help people. Do you want to contribute? Yay. Okay, I want to be a superhero too. Okay, well, one of the reasons and one of the ways that you can contribute to the family is when you allow me to be here on a Zoom or whatnot, you're actually helping the people that were on this call. If they heard something that could change their life just a little bit and they got help from us, you actually help them indirectly by being okay when I'm not there. So then they understood this is our mission. So now it wasn't always like, you're leaving me, let me vie for this attention to pull and distract you because I need to prove that I can have you whenever I want you, and now as the kids have gotten older, they see their point and where their role is in the relationship of how do we help as a group. So it's made it a lot easier for them to recognize when is mom and papa helping other people, and when do I need to step aside to allow that, and in that sense I'm contributing, or when is it time and I have to look at that and say, when am I neglecting my family because I'm spending too much time at work, and then my work might have to take a hit, but hopefully not if I've done my job properly like Spring does, right? If I've hired enough people to fill in for me in that role when I can't be there, it allows me to focus on my family. And then again, family always comes first, but not every time, not when it's not an emergency. So if my kids want my time because they're bored, then I have to have done a good job with putting somebody in the role that can artfully take them away and get them busy on a project when they don't really need me, but they just wanted me because they were bored. So that's how I've been able to do it. And I'm a master juggler, not a balancing act as well, like Spring, I'm a juggler. Whatever is the ball that needs to be caught, that's the one that gets my attention fully. And then it's sometimes family, sometimes business, but whatever it is, that's how I do it. And I don't compare myself to this expectation of this perfect life.
I like that. And what I'm hearing is a couple of things. Prioritization, know what to prioritize when, and be clear on that. Like, what's a real emergency versus, like you said, the kids are bored. Is that really an emergency? Are they going to get more value out of me paying attention to them right now? And where's my highest and best use, to use a real estate term? And again, Spring, outsourcing, super important. The things that don't really need you for your magical personal touch, get it off your plate. I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much. Kathleen, you are next.
I like Spring. I don't believe in balance. I don't believe it exists. I don't think it's attainable. It's like being normal. Who are these normal people? I've never met them. I don't know who they are. I'm certainly not one. But I think when we get powerful women together, the conversation changes. And I truly still believe women are our largest untapped resource in this industry, because, we're doing more. Like, we know statistically, outside of our career, we're doing 3 times more work. And that's not just childcare and, cooking and going to the school. That's managing, caring for elderly loved ones, caring for people who are sick, doing community work. We're doing so much more outside of our careers than we're stepping in our careers. And here's the hard part that drives me to do what I do every single day. We're getting less help. In fact, we're getting half the help. We're hiring help as entrepreneurs at half the rate of our male counterparts. And then we're going, how can we not keep up? Why is it so hard? So for me, I relate to Elena. There are times my children did sit in the office because they had a headache and I was training and I couldn't go pick them up right at that moment. It was not an emergency. They were okay. And I think they've learned resilience from it. And I think it's important for children to learn, contribution and how to come together as a family. And I relate to that so much, but I think we're not hearing these kind of conversations enough. And I think other women need to hear that and go, oh, wait, it's okay. Because when I was first in real estate and I had young kids, there was so much judgment. And I can't tell you how freeing it was to realize the same people who are judging me and telling my kids that I should be doing this, that, and the other for working so hard were the same people who would judge me if I was on social services or welfare or whatever it's called for you. So I chart my own course on my terms, my way, and I trust that. And I think it's a message, I think it's a freedom all women deserve to have. And it's going to allow us to contribute more, not just in business, but as mothers, as partners, as contributors to our community and our world, for sure.
Thank you, Kathleen. I like that. They're going to judge you no matter what, right? Back to the imposter syndrome, back to hurting people's feelings. They're going to judge you no matter what. You got to do what's right. Mm-hmm. Nikki, go ahead.
I don't even like the word balance because it implies that everything matters equally. And I
don't think any of you panelists like that word. And I agree.
Yeah. It's probably the number one question all of us get asked. I think it's if I'm on a women's panel, the number one question I get asked is, how do you do it all? My answer is I don't, I just don't do it all. Because balance implies that everything matters equally and it just doesn't. And so I think that we have to be clear on what matters to us. And we also have to make sure that we're spending our time. I always say I am always wherever my feet are. And that allows me to be really effective in the time that I have. So what I mean by that is that when I walk into the office, I'm in the office, I am working, and I am completely focused on what I am there to do. Because if I'm partially distracted by, looking at texts from my family or scrolling social media or checking in on my daughter, then I'm failing at both things. I'm failing at being a leader because I'm not doing that job all the way. And I'm also failing at being a mom because somebody else is watching her. So ultimately I'm just failing at multiple things. And I'd rather fail phenomenally at one thing at a time. So if I'm going to fail at being a mom, I'm going to do it really well. I'm going to completely shut that that out so I can be as effective as I can while I'm here. And then when I go home, I'm home at the latest by 5 every day. And my phone shuts off until after I put my daughter to bed. We have at least 3 hours where we eat dinner together. I get her ready for bed and I focus entirely on her. I'm not on my phone. It's away. My team can't get a hold of me. My attention is 100% on her, 100% on my husband, 100% on my family. And then maybe after I put her to bed, I'll get back on emails or something like that, right? It's about doing what matters most in the moment that I'm in when it matters, right? So, and I also think, to everybody else's point, it's really about bringing our families on the journey with us, right? I think sometimes as leaders, we are tempted to sort of hide the hard, right? Like, we don't want anyone to know that we're having a hard time, or we don't want anyone to know that this is challenging. I have conversations with my family about what's happening in my business. And I have conversations with my 2.5-year-old. She doesn't have a clue what I mean, but I'll continue to have conversations with her as she grows, right? This is what mommy is doing. This is what mommy is trying to build. This is the impact that mommy is trying to make. And this is how mommy is growing as a human being, because our kids don't listen to what we tell them. They listen to what we show them. And my responsibility as a mom is to be a model for her, to show her what is possible in this life if she chooses to apply herself. So that's really my focus around, around my parenting journey, but also how I interact with my business and everything else. It doesn't all matter equally. And to Spring's point, it's always about being in harmony with all of the things.
Yeah. Again, the word balance, I think that's something that many of us have said, forget it, right? And it's what's so wonderful about today is that we had now admit it, right? How difficult it is to be a mom, how we don't always balance, how there are times when we prioritize. That used to be something that was so taboo to say out loud. And I think it's so liberating for women for us to sit here and say, no, I don't balance. Like, this is how I do it. Laser focus here. Get the family to understand the goals that you're aiming for so that we are all, again, rowing in one direction, heading towards the same finish line.
Can I just say something, like, just really fast?
Yeah.
I also think that believing this lie is a really fast way to never find out what you're actually capable of. Like, if I wanted to convince a whole group of people to not fulfill their potential, I would convince them to be perfect, because it's an unattainable goal, right? It's literally not possible. So they would beat themselves up and never move forward because they would be convinced that something was wrong with them because they couldn't do everything perfectly. Like, that's how I would keep someone from fulfilling their potential. So next time you think that that's who you have to be or what you have to do, just remind yourself that it's literally the blockade to fulfilling who you were born to be.
It's actually, and that whole principle about perfection, if you tell your children they have to be perfect, you're so wonderful, there actually are studies that show that they don't excel.
It's the lowest possible standard because they can't achieve it.
Yes. Thank you, Nikki. Michelle, over to you.
My gosh, what is there left unsaid? I reiterate everything that these women have shared. I think, I'll do my best to summarize it. How's that? I think, we've all agreed that balance is non-existent. And I think balance can easily be equated to perfection. And the minute you are striving for perfection is the moment you are literally closing the door on your potential and what's possible and your dreams. And I think the only thing I can share is, once upon a time when I had my kids were very young, that's exactly what I strived for, was to be the best in everything, the best mom, the best partner, the best business person, until I call it the what's for dinner scenario. And I sat there in my kitchen trying to manage the dinner prep and the homework and the emails. And my husband walked in and lovingly said, "What's for dinner?" And I crumbled to the floor, because it was in that moment that it was like, it was my doing. It was, I could do this, I'll do this, and not asking for help and not allowing myself to bend into the fact that there is no such thing as perfection. You cannot have everything equal all the time. We are not robots. We can't do that. We are humans, and we can only respond to what's in front of us. And I think that's the gentlest, most kindest way of being able to navigate yourself in life and in business, is to really accept that it is hard. It's not easy to have all of these facets of our life and be ambitious and strong women. That, everything is possible, but maybe not all at the same time. And so I think when it comes to prioritizing, or the time management, the work-life balance, I think it really comes down to prioritizing. And it's really recognizing what is important. We can't be everything all at the same time to everybody. So you can be a good mom. You can be a great, successful business person. You can be a wonderful partner. You can have ambitions and dreams, but there has to be a priority sequence. And first and foremost, it has to be you at the front of that. Being able to acknowledge, what am I capable of? What am I willing to sacrifice on in order to get this? And really just being kind. And I think if I can leave anybody with anything, it's to understand that, none of us got here alone. And yes, we don't talk about these things often as much as we talk about them often. We don't talk about them enough. And I think that the more that we can do forums like this, the more that we can get together and share and just let somebody else hear, hey, you're not the only one that had a meltdown in your kitchen while your kids are writing on crayon on your wall, right? Like you're not alone in that. And I think just that alone will help people volumes in being able to just manage and navigate everything that they want.